Last decade. We started these things way back when Bob McCreary was back in the room helping me talk about it. When he was the head coach, it all started out, I think, with Wayne Fink doing a clinic for Hatfield, for the Hatfield coaches. And that was the first one that I was ever a part of. It just kind of grew and grew from there. And then we started doing one and just kind of inviting everybody. We have some people here tonight from Central Perk. We were hoping that they didn't outnumber the North Penn people, so at least the split is where it should be. But our goal when we have these clinics is just to spread as much as we can about baseball to as many people as we can to keep the game as alive and well as it possibly can be. You know, one of the things that I've been hearing a lot about is a lot of parents are reluctant to let their kids play football these days because of all the head injuries and stuff like that, and football has gotten a lot of negative press because of that. One of the worst things I ever want to hear is that people are they want to stop playing baseball. And our goal tonight is to give you guys some tips to take back, to keep the game fun for kids, to keep them engaged, and to hopefully just give some basic instruction at all levels. We're going to go through a lot of stuff tonight. I want to just talk for a second. And by the way, I have like big speech stuff to start out. Like I'm really pumped up to talk about big things to a really big group of people. I'm just going to do it anyway and pretend like there's 100 people in here. But we start out, this is our logo on the back of our shirts, kind of like that. We have an Amish barn raising on the back of our shirts this year because number one, I'm obsessed with the Amish lifestyle, and number two, because that's the way we look at our program, that every single person is doing something to help build something big by the end of the season. Nobody that's on that roof right there cares about who's the best carpenter or who has the most knowledge. They all work together, they all pull the ball at the same time. Every one of those people is equally as important, and we preach that to our guys a lot, and I think it also goes for our whole community. We are only what we are ever because of everybody that coaches the kids before they get to us. And if we all look at it as one common goal of building the same brand of good baseball, bottom to top, we're going to have that same exact approach. So, A, I'm totally obsessed with Amish, and B, I think it's a really good approach for everything we do as coaches, both at the high school here and also in the general community. Two things we always start out with are, number one, a huge thank you. It is totally true. By the time the players get to high school, we know who's good and who's not, and that's because of the instruction and the organization that they get before they get here. So by the time kids come to high school, we're going to do things to make them better. We're going to do a lot of things to try to tweak them and get their game to the next level. But the bottom line is that if they got great instruction, had a great experience in Little League, Connie Mack, middle school, all the way up, if they had a great experience then, they're probably going to come to us as great players. The best teams that we've ever had at North Penn are comprised of groups of kids that have played together from Little League all the way on up. Our 2009 state championship team, a whole bunch of those kids lived in the same development. All right, and they played the same brand of baseball growing up. That particular year was through Hatfield. Other years we've had kids that have come up through North Glen, and whatever the difference might be, but it all starts in the community. So for those of you who are here tonight, thank you for coming. Thank you for listening to us and giving us some attention and all that, because hopefully if we say one or two things that maybe you hadn't heard before, maybe it's worth it. But that is number one, goes without saying. And number two is this statement that came across a few years ago that I just think every single person should post in every dugout, on every bench, in every baseball place that you ever can find it, in every bleacher where the parents can see it. And it's just this concept that your child's success it's not based on playing time. It's not based on performance. What measures success is toughness, resilience, and people trying their best. And that's the message we want to send to every kid that comes up all the way from the very early stages of Little League all the way on up. I've had a lot of conversations with some of my friends who are living in the area, and they have kids that play Little League in the area, and I've heard a lot of stories about the good, the bad, the ugly, and I think it all comes from the same common denominator, which is if what we're shooting for are those things, being a great teammate, being mentally tough, being resilient, and trying your best, and those are the big values that we push from day one. If that's what we're all saying, then there's going to be a lot of kids that are going to want to stay in the game for a really long time. This is who you're going to hear from tonight, sort of. I'm Kevin Bear. This is my 7th year as head coach here, after I spent 9 years with Bob McCreary as assistant coach. Kevin Harris is going to be doing the infield stuff down the over gym a little bit later on. All the bio information for these guys is actually on the sheet that you guys picked up out front. Bob McCreary was the head coach here for 11 years, 11 or 13? 13 years. And won our first state championship in 2009. Bob also runs baseballbytheyard.com, which is probably, I don't think I'm overestimating if I say nationally, one of the best baseball sites that people go to. There are coaches all over the country that visit Baseball by the Yard every day, and he posts awesome tools, tips, quick videos. It is great one-stop shopping. So Bob tonight is going to talk about the basics of catching and throwing. He's also going to pinch hit for Frank Yanni. Unfortunately, Frank's daughter had a anaphylactic reaction to allergy medicine out of Penn State yesterday. He had to head out there last night. She was in the hospital, so he stayed out there today. So Frank was a last-minute scratch from our lineup tonight. But Bob's going to do the hitting stuff down the auxiliary gym in his place. And Keith Klaus is going to do, as he is on the bullpen phone there last year, it's my favorite picture of Klaus, so I use him everywhere. Plus, I don't have any other pictures of him that I can find. But Klaus is going to do pitching drills tonight. That goes over to after we go over the basic mechanics up here. One of the things that sort of like, again, the sort of foundation type piece, something that applies to everything we talk about tonight, are just these 5 principles. We always think that no matter what level, whether it's T-ball, quick ball, coach pitch, minors, majors, all the way on up, if you're conveying attitude and energy with your players, if you're giving them all of that, they're going to give it to you in return. If you're planned and organized, the kids are going to know what to do. It's going to be a really good, productive session every time you're with them. Kids crave structure, and if you come prepared and organized, they're going to get a lot out of it. We want coaches to be resourceful and competitive. You know, make your practices competitive. Make your games competitive. Teach kids how to compete a little bit. There's a great book, there's a great sports psychologist. His name is Ken Revizit. Ken Revizit published one of the best known books on sports psychology. It's all about the mental side of baseball, and his first book was all about really like being mentally focused and clearing your head and flushing all the bad things. Well, he just wrote a 2.0, the second version of his book, and that second version is focused on teaching kids how to compete. Because unfortunately, the world of baseball has changed, and a lot of kids have become more showcase-driven, and that's not really competing. That's going out and showing their skills, but really digging deep and competing and really getting tough when the game gets tough is becoming a little bit more of a lost art. And so if we can instill a lot of that in practice, it really helps. Heads Up Baseball is the title of the book, yeah. And Heads Up 2.0, I guess, is the other one. And obviously, we're talking about development tonight. We're talking about development from a young age all the way on up. Everything we talk about tonight is applicable to every level. If you have a specific question for us based on the development of the kids that you work with specifically, please ask. Or if it's working with 50-year-olds on Sunday mornings, you know, we can apply the instruction to that also. And the other thing is this. Like, as coaches, we love what we do. We love winning. We love newspaper headlines. We love seeing our guys go play Division I baseball. We love bringing trophies home. We love all that stuff. But we should never take ourselves too seriously. Because it's just a game. All the kids are out there for their fun, for their enjoyment. And if we start to think it's about us, or we start to think our program is the be-all, end-all, we just get too serious about stuff, we forget about what makes the game great. So all the stuff we talk about tonight is really based on those things. And always, if we can ever do anything, just please let us know at any point if you ever want. So when we do a coach's clinic, I always sort of ask, like, what do we do? Like, what do people want to hear? And I think about what we want to hear when we go to one. So this January, a bunch of us went out to Indianapolis. All the flights got canceled the night before, and so we were about to pull the plug and bail. Instead, we're like, screw it. Let's rent a minivan from Enterprise to Lansdale. Let's just drive out. So we get this minivan. It's snowing like crazy on the morning of Thursday morning, and we pack in the van and we drive out to Indianapolis. Do you realize how many times we can discuss our starting lineup on a 10-hour drive between here to Indianapolis? It was great, but we went out to the National American Baseball Coaches Association Conference, and we go to these things and we say, what do we want to hear? Well, I always come back to 2 things. I want to hear practical stuff that we can take back tomorrow and use with our kids, and I want to hear like a few more inspirational things that just get me fired up to start the season. So our goal tonight is that we're going to do sort of that same type of thing. We're going to provide you with a little bit of, like I'm going to start off with a little bit of talk today about things that I see as a problem in baseball that we can get in and correct starting this year. And then we're going to get into all the fundamentals that we can hopefully take back and use with all of our kids at every level. So, quick agenda for what I'm going to start out with. Number 1 is I'm going to talk about what's our goal as coaches and what are we facing in our communities right now. And then number 2, I'm going to do a quick run through of practice organization. We can't tell you in one night every single thing to do in practice, but I think what we can do is we can offer some suggestions about generally how to structure a practice so that you're getting the most out of time that you have. So I want to start out with just these 4 things. I think there are 4 of the biggest issues that are facing our baseball environment today. The travel ball culture, the physical demand on young players, the money, and that stupid bird that a lot of people are obsessed with. So just as a quick overview of that, we have a job, I think, as baseball people to keep as many kids playing baseball for as long as we possibly can. And I want to talk about a few of those things tonight related to travel ball versus what's now considered the rec ball, and just kind of a discussion about some of the things that I've seen. I spent a lot of my summers going around and just watching as many games as I can and talking to as many people as I can in the coaching community, and I keep hearing a lot of the same things. So I want to talk about that a little bit. We want to be cognizant of the fact that we have a lot of kids right now that are working out in the winter, indoors, with their travel teams, and then they actually start their community leagues in March, and they're practicing in March, and their opening day is in April, and they're playing all the Little League seasons in April and May, and then as soon as that Little League season ends in May, they're starting their travel ball tournaments, which they're also practicing for at the same time as the Little League season is going on, and then their travel ball tournaments start in May, in June, in July, and then when that seemingly is all over, we go to Cooperstown and play like 8 games in 3 days, and all that stuff happens, and then as soon as that's all over, we get on the short week, and then we start fall ball, and we keep playing and playing and playing and playing and playing, and we just have to be a little bit more careful, I think. And last year I gave a talk about multi-sport athletes and how important it is to use the whole body and to not play the same sport all year round. So I think it is just really important that we always take a look at the physical commitment of our players and just make sure they're not making little underdeveloped kids whose bodies are still growing. We're not putting too much pressure on them and too much stress on them to the point where they're all used up by the time they become 13 years old. I just think that's something we always have to look in the mirror and check our priorities there. And then that bird. That bird is a problem. Oh, I forgot the money thing. You guys know the 30% of coverage is a very interesting statistic. 30% of the families in the North Penn School District are considered economically disadvantaged, which I only just learned last week at an in-service. If 30% of our families are economically disadvantaged, we have to be very careful that we're not pricing families out of baseball. This is a big thing that the inner cities face when they started the RBI programs, that a lot of kids in inner cities are not playing baseball because all the baseball opportunities are expensive things and the kids with no money are being left out. And I'm definitely afraid that the way baseball is going, that the kid who can't afford all the travel stuff can't play baseball anymore. And if that's ever the case, we're going to lose a huge percentage of kids that want to play our game. So we have to be aware of that money thing. This bird, okay, now, I am not, when I put this on the screen, I am not knocking the Prep Baseball Report organization. They are very good right now in high school baseball. They are very, very good for kids to get an all-line profile. They're very good to help kids be recruited in the college process. PBR is the biggest thing in the game right now in terms of high school kids getting that magic word of exposure. And we work with them as high school coaches a lot. But a few weeks ago, I was sitting in Starbucks grading Scarlet Letter papers that I collected 2 months before, and this popped up in my Twitter feed, and I looked at it, and it was like very disturbing to me. That there's this picture of, he supposedly is 12, but he kind of looks like 10 to me. All right, there's a picture of this kid, and they're advertising this 12 and under Team Pennsylvania roster, and at the end of the tweet it says #BC. If our #1 goal for 12-year-old players is to be seen instead of having fun and playing baseball, our priorities are really messed up. All right, and this just to me represents a lot of the problem with baseball. We are exploiting families and we are exploiting kids, telling them that they will be recruited by a college at 11, 12 years old, and that should be your #1 goal. And now they're not learning how to play as a team, they're not learning how to compete, and they're not learning how to have fun with the kids that live in their neighborhood and just play the greatest game in the world. And so I think that Twitter situation, that environment we're in right now is just a tough thing. And as young coaches and with young players, we just keep in mind that baseball at this level, at every level, should be about playing the game to get better and to have fun. And we should be very wary of things like this that tell us that if you don't go and do these things, you will never play at the next level. You keep getting better at 12 years old, 11 years old, 10 years old, 9 years old, 13 years old. You just keep getting better and better and better. And the time will be right for you to do that. But I get very nervous if we think that that time is 12 years old. So that's something that we're facing today. We have to definitely be careful of. This right here, oops. Oh my God, I'm getting so far ahead of myself. I'm giving away all my good stuff. Woo! All right, let's go back. You guys want to know what the Alberta principle is, don't you? All right. Yes, you do. Okay. This right here, the point is, this is what we want to embrace. This is as good as it gets. This is Little League opening day, when every kid in the community who plays baseball is putting the uniform on and running out on the field with the biggest smiles and the most excitement ever, and they're all excited to play baseball. All right? This right here, all right, and this type of stuff right here, this is the good stuff. All right? In my public speaking class, I gave a speech assignment at the end of the semester, which was a tribute speech. And the kids had to write a speech about anybody they wanted to honor anybody they wanted to, as one of the most influential people in their life, or whatever they wanted to give them an award for, okay? And one of the girls got up, it's a girl, and she played softball, so I'm just going to put that up front there for you, but you have to get over that for a second. And I'm going to just read you some of the speech that she gave, because when she read it, I sat there and I thought, this is a message that we have to talk about at our community coaches clinic. Rounding the end of my elementary school career, my mom decided it was time for me to be involved. I didn't play an instrument, I stopped playing soccer after kindergarten, and apparently spent too much time inside the house. My mother told me I had to play a sport, and gave me the chance to pick it before she did, so I chose softball. My friend Megan played it, so if I was going to have something to do, I decided that that something would be softball so I could play with my friends. Megan told me she played for New York Wind, so that's who I asked my mom to sign me up for. Little did I know, Megan's parents would switch her to North Penn Valley that very year. Now, without any friends or any experience, I was terrified. Finally, the day I had been dreading came. The day all the girls in my age range came together to show the three coaches our ability levels for them to divide the teams. I walked in with no bat, no glove, no experience, and no confidence. I was ready to cry, throw up, and run away all at the same time. I stood in the corner of the door watching the other girls talk to each other. As my mom went up to one of the coaches she had emailed earlier to explain that this was my very first year and I had no idea what was going on. The coach came up to me, gave me her son's old lefty glove, a ball, and a partner so they could watch my throwing. She told me not to be nervous, gave me a genuine smile, and this actually made me feel much better. I felt somewhat less scared, and I put on the guard glove, and it began. The same person who lent me the glove turned out to be my coach. Showing up to the Norwood Fields for the first time and finding out it was her, I felt so happy. Seeing her put confidence in me instantly. This feeling never stopped. Every practice, game, and moment after that, she never stopped doing this for me. She went out of her way to include every girl on my team and instill the confidence in us that we lacked. Before I knew she was my coach, I had already decided after the season I was going to quit. But in one spring, she gave me the confidence to keep on playing, and just confidence, all I needed in everyday life, through her lessons and her words, that was what I got. She would always tell me to lift my head back up when I wanted to stay down because I struck out again. She reminded me to always be confident in myself, that others can always root for you, but you need to be rooting for yourself too. She always reminded me to believe in myself, something I truly struggled to do when I felt like I could never overcome the fear I felt from people watching me strike out or miss a play. I'll refer back to what she told me a lot, because it helps me whenever I'm nervous about trying something new, even now. Coach Kathy, you deserve this award for always inspiring others to believe in themselves. You push for people to see the real value and the best they can be. And for this, you deserve this award. Thank you for not only everything you've done for me, but what you do for everyone else as well. Without you, I would never have had the confidence to continue playing softball or to pursue other things in life that I found daunting. I'm so grateful for every way you've impacted my life, and I am 100% confident in the fact that you deserve this award. Thank you, Coach Kathy Arnaud, for being this most outstanding coach I've ever had. That's a little girl who never played softball before, and one person changed her life. And my fear is that we don't pay attention to those kids enough anymore. I think we absolutely 100% have to have a lot of outlets for our best players. When our programs in this community started ramping up their travel ball, I thought it was great. Like, we had the best kids getting a chance to play a lot more baseball. Coach Rittenhouse back there and I, we used to talk about this a lot. The Little League season would end in the first week of June, and then kids would play like maybe a tournament, and the whole rest of the summer they didn't play baseball. Well, now we have an outlet for those kids that want to keep playing, and that's great. And that's the kids that, most of those kids are the ones that end up coming up to play here. But for every group of kids that does that, there's this handful of kids that will mature later, that will become really good baseball players later in life and might play for a really long time. And if we don't value this thing that we call rec ball now, if we just sort of like push that aside, we lose a lot of that. So one of the things I just want to talk about tonight was the importance of making sure that as we develop our travel programs, that we don't do it at the expense of those regular season programs that give every kid in the community who wants to learn how to play this game a chance to play the game. Because the more they learn how to play it, the more we'll keep playing it. This is a picture I showed a couple years ago too. On the left is 2014, on the right is 2016. In 2 years, All right, this is one of our players. Eric White was one of our catchers, and he's sitting next to Eric Ruth, who was one of the greatest players to come through North Penn, one of our pitchers. And in just 2 years' time, he outgrew him. In 2 years' time, he looks like a completely different person, standing next to a guy who was playing minor league baseball at the time. And I put that up there because every kid develops at a different age or a different level. And if we see kids that are bad when they're 9 years old, and we write them off, that might be the same kid who's twice the size when he's 12 or 13. And we want to make sure we give that kid every chance we can to keep him playing the game of baseball until he does develop, fill into his body, and contribute to the game. So this is the Al Warner principle, okay? I just am obsessed with Al Warner, so I'll give him his own slide. But actually, it's a really good story, okay? Al Warner was a kid that lived in, on Richardson Road in Montgomery Township, growing up here in the 70s. And back then it was all farms and everything everywhere. And he's like, oh, golly shucks, guys. Boy, and he still talks like that. But Al was like, he played with kids in the neighborhood and stuff like that. And he, knocked around and played a little baseball here and there. But he was never really that great or confident. And he never really got involved in organized sports. And then one day, he'll tell the story just like I would. One day, his mom drove him up to the Northwind Fields and met a guy by the name of Ben Hostel. And Ben got him signed up for Connie Mack. And it was really the first step he ever took to playing like good organized baseball as he got older. And he played Connie Mack and Legion. Well, Al was sort of like not real confident, not real aggressive. He never played high school baseball his sophomore or junior year. His senior year, he decides to show up and play baseball. Well, this is a kid who basically was, that close to not playing baseball at all. And he met one good person who brought him into the community program, showed him what baseball was like, gave him the confidence to keep playing, and then he starts getting articles like this, many, many years later. Throwback Warner, revered by all. He ends up playing in the 1980 state tournament for North Penn, plays college ball at Mansfield University, starts playing in the Perkins Valley Twilight League in 1980. It's 2018. He still plays, okay? I don't know any other player anywhere in the history of baseball that has played on the same team for that number of years at any level, anywhere. All right, and that's a kid who, if he didn't have that person in community baseball to bring him in and get him excited about baseball, he may have never played at all. And instead, he's 55, 6, and he's still playing baseball, and it's the greatest passion he has in his whole life. Over here, it's just a little bit of a thing from the article. I always played in the Emory Community League, but I was never a good player. But at the age of 16, Warner's baseball life was turned around by Ben Hostel. He inspired me, he encouraged me to play, and it was one of my favorite summers of all time. We have to remember those kids that need that encouragement to find a game that they might love and not overlook them if we want baseball to continue for a really long time. So again, just a few summary points and then I'll get off my soapbox for the night. But we can't devalue the importance of every kid that wants to play. We can't price families out of baseball. And we have to remember that if we're teaching them to have fun, we're developing them, and we're making sure that everybody stays in good health and loves the game of baseball, and we're going to keep people in the game for a very long time. All right, that's our goals. Make them have fun, teach them the right things, keep them healthy. All right, don't overuse them, don't break them down. And if that's the case, we're going to thrive in this community with baseball for a very long time. And Central Park, also. All right. A couple of things I want to run through just real quick with practice organization stuff. Again, there's a lot of things that you can do at practices. Coach McCree has a lot of good stuff on his website about practice plans. I'm going to show you a couple of clips of some of ours. But when it comes to organizing a practice, I like to use this acronym FOCUS. We want to keep them fun. We always want them to be organized. We want them to be competitive. We want every practice to be unique in some way. And of course, we want to make sure that with each practice, we're focusing on certain skills. So, a couple of quick things that I pick up that I know some of this stuff applies to older levels, some applies to younger levels. This video here, not good for little kids, but the concept is this, okay? This is just a typical field, baseball practice going on. We do this a lot at the high school. It's just an example of a whole bunch of things happening at one time. Right? You have two guys hitting fungos, but they're hitting off of tees. So they're working on good back control. We're working on hitting the ball to different parts of the field. You have pitchers working on covering first base. You have all your infielders getting ground ball reps. So we do this a lot at practice. It's just a different way of taking ground ball reps, but also giving our hitters a chance to work on their swing and back control. And I'm only showing you this because it's one of those kind of creative things that if you plan a practice out ahead of time, and you really think about who's going to go where, you can get a whole lot accomplished in a very short amount of time. So that's where,
considering the percentage of balls they get.
that's where again, at each level, you'll be able to do different things, but we try to just mix things up to work for everybody. In indoor spaces too, this is some stuff that we did last year. Again, just the ability in a very small space to have a lot of things going on at one time. So we have guys just working around the bag, doing all the plays. Behind them, we have guys out there working on coming in on walls. Then we see the pitching machine firing across the room, which is, I think, it was throwing scoops to first baseman. And that's a very condensed square footage of space. And I show you that just because, like, you know how Little League season goes. You might get on a field that's wet, part of it's not usable, half the field's not mowed, whatever the case might be, and you have to find in some small space a way to get a lot of things done. So you just say, hey, I'm going to map this out on a piece of paper. We're going to put second base here, I'm going to put first base here, and we're just going to have a lot of guys doing the same thing at the same time. So again, at every level, it's a little bit different, but you want to be creative, and you want to just take advantage of whatever space you actually do have. So I just show you that just as a, just a couple of quick little examples of things that we do. I believe in these 4 things a lot for practice. Number 1 is establishing a common routine. Kids need structure, they crave structure. Obviously, at the younger levels, you rely on the parents to get them there, but sending that message early is really important. That we want to start at the same time, we want to make sure we're there before practice starts. We want to know that when we get to the field, here's what we do. We take a lot of pride here in our warm-up. I think if you warm up the right way, you practice the right way, and you play the right way. The second thing there is you always want to have in almost every practice something competitive. So one of the things that I like to do with a lot of little kids, especially at camps, is defensive 21. You basically put a whole team out there. It's a good thing to do at the end of practice. And you hit balls, and every time you record an out, the kids yell the number. You know, 1, 2, and you try to get 21 straight outs without anybody making a mistake. If you make a mistake, you go back to 0, and you start again until you get to 21. And you can always modify. You can go to 15, you can do 12, but it's a really cool way to put some pressure on the kids, to teach them about a little bit of pressure where you're making that last out of the game. There's a lot on the line. Stay loose, gets you competitive, but it also gets you prepared to face a game situation. And then obviously working on fundamentals at the same time. We do the line drive game a lot when we're in a batting cage. Our guys at the tee up and they're trying to get a line drive to the back of the cage, and every time they do, they get a run. And you just have split up into 2 teams, and you play X amount of innings. It takes T work or BP work, and it makes it competitive. The same thing on an open field. Any chance you can to build some competitive element in it makes your practices obviously a lot more conducive to what happens in a game. Stations, I think, are really important. Sometimes you have a tendency you want to just take BP and throw everybody out in the field to shag, but ideally you pull a couple dads in, you pull a couple extra coaches in, and you have a situation where maybe one group is hitting, another group is bunting in the corner, another group is working on defense, another group is working on base running. If you can have a lot of stations happening at the same time, you obviously can get 3, 4, 5 times more things done. And the little things are a big focus too. Our practices we generally set up like this. We start out with a good warm-up, then we always go to defense first because really, as Coach McCreary will talk about, defense is the foundation of everything. Then we'll do some situational stuff, then we'll do our hitting, and then usually at the very end, this is where we're going to work on some little things. We'll go to second base and talk about how to take the lead off a second. We'll go to first base, talking about the right way to take the lead on a steal around first. And we try to focus on all those little things and kind of divide it up. But we don't have to do it all the time. Maybe one practice you focus on base running. Maybe one practice you focus on little things with defense. One practice you focus on holding runners on at first base if you're that 11 number league now that all of a sudden Cal Ripken gets can steal bases. Just try to pick one little thing every practice if you're not inundating kids with too much. Baseball by the Yard is one of the best resources possible. There's tons of stuff already on there organized for you. But so is YouTube. Even as high school coaches, when you practice all the time, sometimes you feel like you're getting a little redundant. You just need to fresh up, you need to find something new. That drill with the kids sitting off the tee, I found that on YouTube. A lot of other stuff I stole from college coaches that we hear from in clinics. Everything is stolen, everything is borrowed. We're not trying to reinvent the game, we're just trying to use good resources to find new things. We always want people to come to our practices too. Like, come to our practices, watch what we do. Maybe it's cool, maybe it's not. Maybe you didn't get anything from it, maybe you did. But we're open. We don't have any, walls around our field. We found the dugouts going on. We don't have any walls and gates, so come on out and watch us. And be inventive. Like, think about things like take a tee drill. Take a batting tee and think about a lot of different things you could do with it. Think about a line drive game, or think about like, hey, we're all going to hit to the right side today, or hey, today we're going to put a guy on second base, and you come up as a team, and you have 3 outs to try to score that guy from second base. Whatever team scores the most runs from second base wins. Like, just creative little things that you can come up with by just planning for 10, 15 minutes before you get to the field. But all of those sources right there are great for that kind of stuff. You don't have to try to reinvent the wheel by yourself. There's a lot of good information out there.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
How long do you practice? And then if you think about 10-year-olds, 12-year-olds, 14-year-olds, do you have a recommendation on how long they should?
Yeah, I am not a big believer in long, drawn-out practices. I think, kids today, all they want to, when the kids come out of the womb today, most of them have an iPad in their hand, they just want to swipe, they have very short attention spans. So I think part of it is that you don't want to be out there for too long, but you also don't want to be doing something for too long. So when we practice, we'll usually start at 3 o'clock, and we try to be done by 5. If there's a day that we're not hitting as much, we usually done earlier. If there's a day that maybe we're going to do an inter-squad game or something like that, we might go a little bit later. But to me, for high school, an hour and a half to 2 hours of practice, if you do it the right way, you can get a lot done. Being out there for 4 hours and running the same drill over and over and over again isn't going to be real productive. And I think the Little League level is the same thing. If you plan your practice into blocks of time, if you're working on, say, just regular ground balls, and the kids are having a bad day, you want to just keep doing it for like 2 hours straight, have them keep failing, and you want to say, look guys, we're having a little hard time today, we're going to move on and do something else, but next practice we're going to come back and so we're going to do a little bit better. And I think that's the best way to do it. And I think a lot of it for you guys depends on how much you have to field, like, your structured schedules in terms of who gets to field what night. But I really believe for that age, an hour to an hour and a half, you should be able to get a lot done if it's planned out and organized, and keep the kids' attention span, which is the most important thing. But like I said, I think also just not running one thing for too long. And that's where that pre-planning becomes big. As teachers, like that's our whole life. We're planning everything in 45-minute blocks. But if you kind of think in that same approach, I think it makes things a lot easier.
With that time frame, coach will, like that 2 hours, it's always working on offense, it's always working on defense, and it's hitting as well. So he's able to do all of that in that time frame.
Yeah. And not all the same skills on the same day. You parcel that out and decide what you're going to want to work on each day. I'm a big believer in cheap solutions to good practices. We buy string, and string is like one of our best friends, so we put a string across our bullpens. We have 3 catchers catching at a time, and we just line the string up from end to end across the catcher's knees, and we work on keeping the ball under the string, and it costs like $3 maybe. Those colored dots are super cheap. I actually have home plates right now that are made out of like poster board, and I have little yellow ones that I put on the sides of each plate. That's basically plate extenders, so the catcher's set up behind the plates. You can make a whole bunch of these and line them up all over the field, and each kid can stand in front of the home plate and work on the swing at the same time. Cheap solutions to really good practices are important because there's a lot of really expensive stuff out there that you don't necessarily want to waste the money on. And then we'll take masking tape sometimes and just hang it down from the string, just to simulate where a batter would be, whatever we don't have a batter in that day. But try to find cheap things to use for practices. Broom handles are really good to work on swinging mechanics, all that good stuff. Towels, tennis balls, a stopwatch, buckets, God, lots of buckets. You're a great coach if you have a shitload of buckets. You can do so much stuff with buckets. Oh, I'm sorry, you recording that? Can you believe that? But anyway, there's a lot of gimmicks out there. There's a lot of these expensive training aids that people will say, oh yeah, buy this, it'll fix your swing. Well, the game is really simple. Coach Yanni flies an airplane. He always says, hitting ain't flying an airplane. All right, it's not that complicated. All right, and sometimes just little things like this, like a broom handle is really good for back control. A lot of kids want to swing a heavy bat, but if it's too heavy, it's just going to mess up their swing. But if they take a broom handle, they can really work on every little piece of the mechanics and have good control. They can switch back and forth with that and the regular bat. And all it takes is just going to the hardware store, getting a broom handle for from the paint section, just cut it in half, and you have 2 of them. All right, for kids to use, really easy stuff. This is what, I know you can't read it, but just to give you an idea, this is what our practice plan looks like. So this is one from our indoor workout. It's a lot of organizing of the kids into groups. And once you organize kids into groups, it becomes really easy to have a lot of things going on at once. So our agenda starts halfway down there, and you can see that we just have a lot of things going. This is more of a close-up version of it. This was last night on the turf before it started raining, when it was 75 degrees. So you see it goes round 1, round 2, round 3, round 4. That's our defensive work. So like for round 1, we're going to work on those position-specific things. And we'll do that round for about 5 minutes, max. Then we'll go to the second round, and now we're working on 3 more things. Then round 3, round 4, and so forth. All right, and at every level, you can apply that to what your kids need to do. So if you have a little league team, you might have for round 1, you might say, okay, third baseman, we're going to just hit you ground balls, you're going to field the ball and throw it back home. Second baseman and shortstops, we're going to have you field the ball, just work on flipping to the second base back. First base and pitchers, we're going to hit a ground ball to first base, pitcher's gonna come over and field it. That's like, not that complicated, all right? But you can have 3 or 4 things going on at once, and if you plan it out ahead of time, it moves really quick. When we do this, every time we switch to a round, we bring all the guys in the infield, and we explain what everybody's doing, and we sprint back out, and we do it. That round's over, bring them all back in, explain, sprint back out and do it. But we keep things moving. No time to be bored and stand around and look at airplanes in the sky and pick dandelions. We just keep things moving as much as we possibly can. This is a video I came across this week, and I love it. It shows you what all that little stuff you do in practice can turn into. So this is a college game where you're going to see highlights of the game, and then it'll go back and flip to things that they work on in practice that are exactly the same things that come up in the game. All right? So you're working on a back foot, off-balance throw, just like you have to make a play like that. And if we spend some time in practice working on that throw, just while we're warming up, then when it happens in the game, we're ready to do it. Okay? If we work on that play there, going to our right and making a quick snap throw, if we work on that in practice, we're ready to do it when it comes to a game. All right? And it takes you through a whole bunch of stuff. Everything from charge plays, to backhands, to off-balance throws, and all the little things you can work on in practice that absolutely play out in the game. So instead of just taking ground ball after ground ball after ground ball, say, okay, this time we're just going to work on going to our right and throwing the ball to third base. We're going to work on a charge play, getting on our right foot. And you just do these things in small spaces, and you see exactly how it plays out in the game. So these guys there are working on that slow roller throw that you get when you're coming off the third base. All you got to do is have a little bit of space in practice to work on that stuff in the beginning. Okay? And again, I show you this not because you're going to do all this stuff in Little League, but the point is, if you can think of little things to do to take up space and time so nobody's sitting around doing nothing, it makes for a super productive practice. Okay, so again, if we show up in practice attire and we're all wearing kind of the same thing, baseball pants or at least some part of our uniform, we're thinking about the same way we're going to play the game. We show up with the same mentality. If we put players in a position to be successful, like if a kid is a really fast runner, but he's having a really hard time catching the ball, let's put him in the outfit where he feels good, where he feels confident with himself. Let's put him in a place where he feels good about his skills and he's more excited to develop them. If we encourage them to watch as much baseball as possible, and we really preach that over and over and over again, then hopefully kids are going home and they're actually watching baseball games. This time of year is so awesome because in spring training they talk about a lot of things and develop and get ready for the season, so it's great to watch. And then we always at practice want to reinforce respect for the game and respect for the team. How you carry yourself, how you function as a teammate, those skills apply everywhere. All right, we never want to lose that. If we're screaming and yelling at people and we're acting like jerks and we're turning our head around backwards and chewing tobacco in the dugout, we're not modeling the right behaviors. So we always want to think about what do we want our kids to do and ask ourselves if we're doing the same thing.